Greetings gamers, I bear answers to your questions. My name is Raymond and I'm working on an anime third-person wall-running game codenamed Project Feline. I've got the prototype available for free on itch if you want to give it a go, and I've recently been working on a new character model for the game, and I've just done the video on how I made the shader in Blender 2.8, and I've been getting a lot of questions about that, so hopefully we'll get to address some of those today, and a bunch of other questions about just game development in general, and how my project's going. These questions will be sourced from my YouTube comment section and from the Q&A submissions on the community Discord, and if you haven't joined it yet, I'll link it in the description. So without further ado, let's get into the questions. So on my latest video where I talked about the development of my shader, I've been getting a lot of questions like this one from Derek, who says, does the shader port over to Unreal, or is it better to do it in the game engine? Now a lot of people have been asking this sort of thing with my shader. A lot of people asking, why did you make it in Blender, not in Unreal? Now the way shaders work, you can't port them. I don't think it really works that way. To be able to create a shader like I did in the video, you have to create it in the engine's tools. So you basically have to remake the node setup in the new software. Now whether this is hard or not depends on the complexity of the shader. This shader is actually quite simple, so it actually won't be that much effort to recreate it in Unreal, and it should work fine as it just uses very generic math function. And the process of porting it I will be covering in a future video. But the reason I did it in Blender first, because that's one thing a lot of you guys want to know, is that why didn't you just do it in Unreal? I was initially planning on doing that, however there were a few things I needed to do in Blender first before taking it to Unreal, so I thought I might as well just make the shader there. For example, this shader relies a lot on custom vertex normals. Now you can't do that in Unreal, you have to do that in the modeling software first, and I had no way of knowing how that would look without a shader. So yeah, I'm sorry if I caused some confusion. I know a lot of you were wondering that sort of thing, and hopefully that clears some things up. I have been receiving some other questions though about the Ilm Map in particular, which I covered in that video, and that's the map that basically controls the hand placement of things like shadows and specula. I know I didn't get as much time as I wanted to explain that in the video. I think a lot of you kind of understood how it worked, but a lot of you wanted to know how to make that texture, because that's something I didn't go through. Now for some of those things I used vertex paints, but for the rest I used mainly Photoshop. How I went into making those is probably enough for a whole video in itself, so I may decide to upload another video following up that with how I created that map specifically. But yeah, apart from those things, I think a lot of you seem to have found that video very helpful, and I really appreciate all the positive support for this video. I have a comment here from Camp Farsh. You should definitely add a scoreboard system so people can speedrun the maps against each other. Honestly, that's a really cool suggestion, and in fact people have already started doing that. On the Discord, we currently have a community-run leaderboard for speedrunners. It's currently just with a Google form and a Google Sheet, and I have a little message on my Discord chat that shows the top performing speedrunners. However, I would like to implement a proper in-game way to do this. So it's on the to-do list. I'd like to have an actual in-game leaderboard so you don't have to rely on like Google Docs and that sort of thing. But yeah, if you'd like to speedrun through my prototype, I have a link to download it for free in the description. And on the community Discord, you can find links to the speedrun leaderboard. Question from Era. Will there be support added for BSP and other map files to be directly uploaded to the game through a maps folder or perhaps with an in-game UI? Excellent question. I've actually been getting quite a lot of questions and suggestions about putting user-generated content into my prototype. It's an idea I'd like to explore a bit further, but however it does carry with it some implications that I'd like to address today. Now, creating a game with mods or support for UGC is a little tricky, and for those who don't know, I'm developing my game in Unreal Engine 4. I haven't done anything in regards to modding or anything like that in Unreal yet, so I don't know all that much about it. However, I do know that depending on how I package the game, it may compromise the integrity of the game's files, which is not something I'm willing to do. So if there comes a way to have support for user-generated maps and that sort of thing, I'd very much like to do it in a way that doesn't compromise the rest of the game's files. But it is absolutely a cool idea I'd like to implement, and in fact a lot of people have been offering to make maps for this project and various other things, and it's definitely, you know, that's an area I'd like to promote, because I know that a lot of you guys probably know a bit more about map building than I do. I'd love to give you guys the opportunity to build maps for my project. But until we find a proper way to go about it, it's probably not going to make the prototype, but it may make a later build in the alpha or beta version. So I would continue following the development to see how that turns out, but at the moment I just want to get the core features in, and we'll see where we go from there. Question from Breakthrough. Hey Raymond, are you going to add enemies? Enemies is something I'd very much love to experiment with. It's on the to-do list. I haven't had much time to experiment yet, as I've been working on my new character model, but as soon as that's in, I think the next thing I'm going to be looking at is maps and enemies, and making some new test maps perhaps, and then filling them with some cool hazards and enemies. As for the types of enemies, it's probably not going to be anything like complex, like nothing like a Radiant AI or that sort of thing. They're probably going to be very simple, but I'd like to make them very satisfying to destroy. So if you guys have any ideas on enemies, feel free to leave them in the comments of this video or in the discussion channel on the community Discord. Question from Hinch: will there be any puzzle elements? Possibly. It's something I've had in my mind for a bit, but I feel like the game's kind of going to more of a fast pace, but maybe we can still put in some puzzles. I'm not sure. It's something we'll experiment with. Question from Quinn: is there a possibility for any merch for Project Feline? Ooh, merch is actually something that'd be really cool to make. Something I've just noticed is that a lot of you guys seem to really love this character that I've designed and developed. And I know I haven't really said that much about the character yet, but it seems like a lot of people are really interested, and the very fact that people have gone on to make fan art of this character before the game's even released, I think that's really cool. And I really just appreciate the amount of people that like this character as much as I do. I definitely like to make some cool t-shirts at some point with this character design on it or something like that. Yeah, so if you guys would like a Project Feline t-shirt with Gabriella on it or something, let me know, because that'd be really cool, I think. Question from Max Lubito: is the world in Project Feline going to be more like a Mirror's Edge look? I think in my second devlog video, I talked a little about the inspiration behind the world and story for this project, and I've taken some inspiration from a lot of games like Halo and Mirror's Edge and those sorts of games, and I have to say the Mirror's Edge style is very appealing to me, mostly because the environments look really clean, and it doesn't really rely that much on textures, and the models, you know, they aren't too complicated, so it's definitely a style that appeals to me a lot, as I'm not really much of an environments guy and I don't want to spend ages creating a realistic looking environment. So I want to take some elements for it, but I want to put my own spin on it and see how we go. And if you guys come across any cool looking environments that you've seen in games, feel more than welcome to share them with me. I'd very much like to get some inspiration for the environments. Question from Valken: will we get a male character variant somewhere down the line? It's possible. I've had some ideas floating around of a male counterpart character to put in the game, but considering how long it's taken me to create just Gabriella's model, I'm kind of hesitant now to chuck in more characters than necessary. Although I do have some ideas in the works of some other sidekick characters, because one thing I really like to have is like a cast of 2 characters or so that sort of really bounce off each other and bring out the best in each other. I think that'd be really cool. Question from OAO: will there be multiple different styles of levels? Maybe one level in a city or another level with huge walls, or like levels from CS surfing. The way I sort of think of my levels at the moment is, I know I'm probably not going to go for an open world setting. I was getting a lot of questions about whether it's going to be open world, and it's probably not in a direction I want to head in at the moment. They're very much likely going to be linear sort of obstacle course levels, but one thing I'd like to try is having nice unique themes for each area of the game, and maybe utilizing those themes across multiple levels. So I've had some ideas for like a city theme or an aquarium theme, or I had this random idea of like a futuristic coconut mall theme. I don't know why, it's just an idea. So if you guys have any cool theme ideas, feel welcome to leave them in the comments. Question from T Beast: how do you start learning to develop games? Do you lay out a project and then learn as you go, or don't start a project but learn the fundamentals and core concepts of game development? Now, from my own personal experience, I know a lot of people that go the latter route in those options, where they'll just try and, you know, become an expert on game development without actually making any games. And I kind of always found it to be a flawed approach. This is just my opinion, of course, but I would definitely say that I was with the former in these 2 options. I kind of just went, you know, I'm just gonna make it and just see what happens. Because if it does well, then that's awesome. And if it doesn't do well, then I'm probably going to be a lot smarter by the end. And it's quite a risky strategy as well, because it means inevitably that the first thing you make is going to suck. And it will, but I'd say living through that was a lot more valuable to me than reading from a textbook. So I'd probably go on to recommend that if you're looking to start a project, don't bother with, you know, reading on theory and those sorts of things. Just actually make something and see how it goes. Share it online like I've done, and the people will tell you if it's bad or not. And if it is bad, they're likely to tell you why, and maybe you should listen to that. I think that to me is a lot more real and tangible than just, you know, reading it from a Quora answer. So yeah, I'd say to summarize, I don't think there's any real substitute for real experience. Question from Melmo JG: will the game itself have a story mode? I think it absolutely will, judging from the direction of things. As for the scope, duration, and the type of story, I can't say for sure yet. It'll depend on a lot of things. It's probably going to be a short story, but I like to make it a good story. Question from Vindog: How do you feel about having such a big community now? I have to say it feels quite amazing. It's not something I anticipated at all when I started making this game. When I started doing these devlogs, it was mostly just for me to document my progress, so that after about 6 months when I felt like giving up, I could go and look at the first video and say, wow, I've made so much progress since then. Or, oh, maybe I didn't make that much progress, but the very fact that so many people have jumped on board this project and are supporting it is really, really, really amazing, and I really do appreciate everyone that wants to be involved in it. I would even go as far to say that probably one of the only reasons I haven't quit or given up yet is because of you guys and the community. Because, game development's hard, man. I'm very tired. I'm very, very, very tired at the moment, as if you couldn't already tell by these wonderful bags. And yeah, it's like making games is quite draining. It requires a lot of thought and a lot of, brain energy and stuff like that. I think one of the things that's kept me going is, every couple weeks or so I'll have, I want to try and have something out to show you guys. And having that motivation there and trying to stick to that schedule so that after like every 2 weeks or so, it's like, okay, I gotta show the guys this that I've made or something like that. I find that really, really motivating. The fact that my videos get overwhelming support, like especially the last video on my shader, that got, I was really happy that you guys found that helpful, and it just got overwhelmingly positive feedback. So I really do appreciate that sort of thing, and I think it really helps motivate me to keep working on this thing. Because it's not just about me anymore, it's about all of us, it's about you guys. It feels like having this community gives me a place to belong. I feel like that this is where I'm supposed to be right now. Feels like this is my home, and this is my community, and this is my project, and we're gonna get through it, and I'm gonna finish it, and you guys are gonna play it, and it's gonna be cool. It feels absolutely amazing. It's kind of hard to describe with words, to be honest. But as tired as I am, as exhausted as I am, it's one of the things that keeps me going. So that will about do it for today. Thank you all so much for watching till the end. I hope this cleared up some things and that you found this video helpful. Be sure to leave a like on the video, and be sure to subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss my next devlog video. Again, I don't know where I'd be without you guys in the community, so I really do appreciate all that have been following my journey. If you'd like to submit your own questions, you can leave them in the comments or join our community Discord, linked in the description. Thank you again for watching through, and I will see you in the next video.